The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good morning, people. Oh, there we are. Good morning, people. I'm CJ.
And I'm Carlos Caesar.
And welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. Please forgive me for the difficulty here with the show a little bit. We're trying to get things in order.
Okay.
Chip cannot be here today. Chip cannot be here today because he is at a Macris meeting out in Taunton. And he is sorry because he needed to be here to squawk and scream.
Definitely we're going to have an empty chair.
Yeah, well, you know, that's okay. But let's get right to business on the forefront of what we want to know as the City Council fiasco. The first thing I want to say is we finally found out that the Housing Authority wasn't behind. We found out that the treasurer or the collector or some highly paid individual with lots of stipends screwed up, made a billing error. It's amazing how many billing errors we have. And that's why we have to transfer $200,000 to the police department budget for the Housing Authority thing because, again, Fall River put the money in the wrong account, which is amazing. I mean, and Chip brought this out several times. They've actually gone to court over this. The city does it every time they can. They put money where they can get at it, and then afterwards they go, oh, well, maybe we'll get them to pay it again, and then we won't have to pay it back. Guess what?
And you know something? About 20 years ago, I had 5 checking accounts because I knew people are working on the banks, and I would like to give business to everybody. So I had 5 checking accounts until one day that I put money in one account and send checks out from a different account, from a different bank. So that's exactly what's going on in here is when we have so many accounts and we forget, you know, how much we have on those accounts. And that's one this thing but should not happen. But I have to say this. This doesn't happen just with the city. This happens with the school department too.
Oh yeah, no question about it.
You know, with the school department, and that happens when people have so much money, they switch money around, and then they forget which accounts they have the money. Last year, you know that we rent the Morton School for our Christmas show. So last year, at the end of the year, around October, November, I approached the school again to rent the space to have our Christmas show. And his call back was, Mr. Caesar, we have the school for you, but you still didn't pay last year's bill.
Carlos, you deadbeat.
I didn't pay last year's bill. I remember personally delivering the check to the school department. So how come I'm sorry. So I went back to the records, and here was the copy of the check, you know, cashed on June 13, and everything, and they don't have that information there. They're trying to collect the check again from me. So that's a perfect example, you know. So
highly paid people. Highly paid people with lots of extra stipends because they're not paid enough.
Exactly.
But, you know, it's amazing because, and I know this is a sore issue for you, Carlos, the CPA money. Oh.
I don't even want to go there.
You know, yeah, I know. They heard it. They heard it, and they passed it. The grant money, the money to be paid out, almost $1 million. Okay, for projects which I have to say may be illegal. They may not meet the CPA requirement. So I'm reviewing the CPA law as we speak. But let's talk about a few of them. The Lafayette Durfee House, they wanted $100,000 for structural repairs. Now, they're a private foundation, and I understand they're a historic building. That's what the CPA money was created for. But why should we pay as a taxpayer? Because remember, only the taxpayers get taxed 1.5% of their property value to pay this fee. Only the taxpayers, because all those people who rent, who voted for this, don't lose anything out of it. And if the property owners were smart, they would take that money that they have to pay because of these idiots who voted for it and say, hey, I'm going to raise your rent. But I digress. So $100,000 for structural repairs. You know what? If the building's already falling apart, you better start raising money some other way besides reaching out to the taxpayer. That's my money, not yours. Coswaco Square, I can understand bench replacement. $2,000, $662. I'll give you that one. Historic District Survey, $10,000. Are you kidding me? $10,000 for a survey? I want to know who's doing the survey. Who on the Historic Commission's pocket is getting this $10,000? Because remember, we already have historic districts declared throughout Fall River. So why do we need another survey to decide where these historic districts are? Because guess what? Fall River years ago destroyed any historic resemblance here in Fall River. You can't even use it anymore. So now you're trying to restore it. Admirable. But guess what? I'm not going to pay for it. Columbus Park. I love this one. Columbus Park. $53,000 for a basketball court. Okay. I never see anyone in the Columbus Park basketball court, but that's all right. But this one gets me. $20,000 for the construction of a bocce court. I said that before the show went on the air with a few people in the studio. And they all went, what's bocce? I said, bocce ball. You know, it's the Italian game. You throw the balls, they bang each other out. Oh. I said, yeah, millions of people waiting in line for a bocce ball court in Fall River. Again, a waste of money. North Burial Ground, $104,000 for restoration of the historic cemetery structures. I've been down to North Burial Ground. There's one structure in there. It's a building on the North Main Street side of the gate. There's no other buildings. So are we going to repair the headstones? I mean, I know there's a headstone there that says Benedict Arnold, but it's not the same Benedict Arnold. But is it for the fence? I mean, tell me what you're restoring. Because I have no idea why $104,000 is needed for a building at the entrance to the cemetery that nobody's in, nobody goes in there, and it's not used for anything. So again, I have to ask, what structure, the gates, the soul building, the headstones, what are we spending this money on? The Historic Society Annex, $63,064 for painting of the exterior of the building and the fence. Really? Another private entity, granted it's a foundation, okay? I don't see how the annex building is a historic building. I mean, the Historic Society is a historic building. It's an old building, et cetera, but to paint $63,000, get real. And of course, your favorite, Carlos, the Oak Grove Cemetery. We've got to repair that iconic, oh, I love that term, iconic granite arch. Because guess what? They're dying to get out of the cemetery. They're running for the gates. But again, that is historic preservation, so I'll give them that one. But you know, this gets to be so, you have to say, how much waste can we actually have in Fall River before it gets to the point where we're ridiculous? This one really goes up my backside. The Abbey Grill. It's a historic building, privately owned. It is owned by a private person, a private corporation, whatever the case may be. It is there for money. And they want to take taxpayers' dollars, $120,000. $120,000 to do an emergency roof repair. That's not my responsibility. You bought the building knowing the situation, knowing the condition. As it was, the city already gave you multiple tax breaks and gave you a deal on buying the building. Okay? Now you come back and you want another $120,000 from us? No, not right. The Children's Museum, $192,000 matching grant, which means I got another $192,000 for an air conditioning system. And this is where I think it calls it out. Because, number one, air conditioning is not community preservation. We don't own the building. The Children's Museum doesn't own the building. So why are we putting air conditioning in there for them? And what air conditioning system costs $400,000? Tell me this isn't a waste of taxpayer money. Do you know why this money went out there? And I understand that our show is taped and aired out of the Bristol Community College studios, but is the only reason why this came out there is because the head of the Children's Museum is Mrs. Sprague? Is this a political payoff? Using taxpayer dollars? I want to get a couple of people together and walk down to the Superior Court right now and get an injunction on the city spending even one dime of the CPA money. Because again, this is malfeasance. This is the spending of money that the taxpayers have put in wrongly. You can't do that. This is another one that I love. The King Philip Mill. $99,000 to repair a chimney, a smokestack, which the city, the state, our elected officials, and even the neighborhood want the whole building gone. They want it demolished. But we're going to spend $100,000 to fix the smokestack. Are you serious? Are you absolutely serious? Another $100,000 out the window. You know what? Chip says it very well. I have to agree with him. Don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. Because I'll tell you right now, this is getting to be ridiculous. Okay? And when you look at some of these numbers, you have to say, what are you doing? What are you doing? $48,765 for Cook Pond. But it's not for Cook Pond. It's for the stone wall on Dwelly Street. Really? How is that historic? It's not. It's for community preservation. Okay, I'll give you that. But you want to repair a stone wall? Again, you know, and now let's get to the places that the money wasn't given. All right? And I only know of one off the top of my head, but I know there are many other applications. But, you know, this group, you know, I don't know who they think they are. They went out and reached out to CPA for a grant to clean up the old Duval School, to make it a community center. The Duval School is a historic building, okay? This group bought the building, paid for it, but they can't do anything with it because there's asbestos and everything else in there, and they want to clean it up. They wanted some community preservation money. The building doesn't even have water because the water pipes are gone, because many of Fall River's finest people broke in, stole the building pipes. You know, COP is very prestigious. But I wonder how that group must feel when they get denied, but every other politically connected nitwit gets what they want. Carlos, do you have any comments about that? I mean, I don't know who leads this organization.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I have to say this. They're all good projects. And, but we need to go, and again, we need to get the needs first, and then next year get the wants after. Here's the thing. Everybody knows that the Duval School is going to be holding the post office there. The post office is to keep a service, to keep community service in the city, besides keeping 4 or 5 jobs. That's beside the point. So here comes, and when we did the presentation, the first meeting, I was told, and this is public record, the meetings are taped. I was told, we don't care what you do inside the building. We are preservation, our site is, we want what's going to happen on the outside. I said, I understand. So I just turned other direction. Now I call different appraisals. So because we need handicap accessibles and all of that, a lot of money that we need to spend outside the school. But on that first meeting, I was told we can cover the asbestos removal and we can cover the architects. Great. I called my architects and I said, you know something? Give me all the price for all the work that needs to be done by you. So, and they did. on my second meeting, I presented all the other prices. But I was I was not sad, I was surprised. The only hands that went up on that group to put the Vol School up into the second step was Mr. Machado. He was the only person on the group besides Ken Pacheco that had to abstain because he's an abutter. So I understand that. But besides Ken Pacheco abstention, the only person that hands the hand to pass on the project to the second level was Mr. Machado. And right there, I start having my questions. I don't think this is a good project. I mean, we have all this number of non-profit organizations, groups, kids, and to move in for school after programs and all of that. We can compare in a small group as a CDREC programs have been running. I would not be surprised if we apply next year that CDREC was going to get half of the money from the CPA and nobody else will get money. I would not be surprised. And we have 9, I do what my board wants me to do. It's 9 votes, I only have 1 vote on that board. I will not be in favor of applying for CPA ever again. But again, my board, I do what my board wants me to do. With that being said, if it's up to me, I have other ways to get the money and fix. I know I'm going to get behind because I was counting with this money, but it's okay, I will get it done. If we lose service on our community, like the post office, I want the business on the Flint, and I want the elderly people on the Flint to never forget about this. Because in 4 years, you're going to have to vote again for CPA money. Make sure where the money is being spent, and so pay attention.
Actually, Carlos, I think the vote for CPA money now comes up in 3 years because it's only for 5 years that it's guaranteed.
Yes,
and
we're going on a second.
Right,
so.
and I know that Chip and I are both dead set against the CPA money, and I think a lot of property owners are now against it. The only people you have all for this are the people who are going to benefit. The people on the Historic Commission, the people on the Historic Preservation Society. Okay, those people have their pockets to line, their property values to increase, and they're going to use the taxpayer dollars to do it.
I don't even think it's right. The Apple Grill, I understand that he's putting a lot of money into it, and the only reason the board select him was because they already put a lot of money into it. But guess what? When this guy has this building running, he's going to make millions.
That's right.
And he don't care.
That's right.
He's going to make millions. That's his problem, property. That's his problem to get that business in running.
Right.
When we have a community center, okay, that are waiting for this money to get kids out of streets, to put kids into safe programs after school, to save jobs, to put service on the community, and we don't get, and $7,600, it's the cost to remove the asbestos under the Vol School. I don't believe that out of $1.1 million, you don't have $7,000, okay, to remove asbestos. And everybody knows that's the first step to get that program rolling. Well, it's remove the asbestos out of that.
Well, Carlos, that's because, we don't spend money from a common sense point of view. We spend money politically. We don't know how to spend money. We don't. And obviously this passed 9-0. That means all of them said, let's pay off our political allies. Okay, whether you're talking about mayoral candidate Jazel Correa on one end, okay, or the Sam Stooges on the other end. Okay, they all voted for it. And you know
I have
what?
to say, I'm very disappointed with the city council. I'm very disappointed with the city council because I personally talked to 5 city councils about this project. And the only question they had to ask was, we know that the Vol School didn't have funds. Why?
And none of them asked.
And whatever they're going to answer, that's their question. That's their answer. But at least the question was there. I was not asking them to go back and forth. Just a question. What was wrong with the Vol School project not being a reward any money? Okay? Not even a quantity. We applied for 250. If they give us 7,000, that's it. We already on the process. We will apply next year for more money. No, you're not qualified for. Oh yeah, you are qualified, but we don't have enough money to give to all projects. Yes, but we have projects that are private owned, and now I'm going to be paying, okay, to fix that building, which then he's going to turn around and make millions with that building, and with my money, with my tax, when I don't even have $7,000, okay, to put into a community center. I don't think it's right. Another thing is the cemetery. Come on, how long is that waiting for money, for funds? Yes, I understand that we need to preserve that, but how long is that waiting for money? Between saving a post office or fixing the entry of the cemetery, what is the need? What is the need?
We don't talk about need, Carlos. Remember, we don't talk about need. We're political nitwits. The Magnificent Nine don't talk about that. Like I said, you've got Sam Stooges on one end, okay, which all they do is learn right away that their heads have to be so far up the rectum of the mayor that if they want to get anywhere. And then you had a city councilor last night after his votes turns around and goes on Facebook and says, I did the right thing. Guess what? You didn't do the right thing. You didn't. Okay? We're already seeing how the candidates for re-election and the candidates for city council are destroying themselves by their comments because they're showing the people already where they stand.
I see again another group that's gonna, it's put together, and again they're trying, but I don't know where they're getting this information, where they're putting, how they're basing their decisions. Really, I don't need. I don't want the Vol School to be the #1 project of the CPA, but being the 31 out of all 31 projects, being the 31, I don't think that was right. And I'm not the right person to talk about because I have a dog on the race.
Yeah.
But again, it's just common sense to me.
But you know, Carlos, the bocce ball court was more important. Okay, the $20,000 for a bocce ball court was more important than the city's youth. Remember that, city councilors. Remember it. You voted for a bocce ball court instead of for the city's youth. You show us right now who you represent. You represent the politically connected. You're looking for your campaign contributions. Okay? Hey, Historic Commission, we know who you represent. Your friends. Okay? No more of this. You're not going to spend taxpayer money this way. And I'm telling you now, last night after your vote, during your vote, I was in a meeting. Okay? A meeting I was very glad to be part of. But I'll tell you now, my text messaging went nuts. My emails went crazy. And when I got home, I had phone messages saying, I want to be part of a 10 taxpayer lawsuit against this city. You know, they're done. The community is done. The people of Fall River are sick and tired of every one of you city councilors. None of you have ground to stand on anymore. And you're proving yourself failure every single time you take a vote. And when you turn around and say, you did the right thing, you're digging your grave. But I'll tell you, one person who did say something, which Chip and I have been speaking about for a long time, was Steve Long. He finally admitted that Fall River, yes, people, Fall River, is sending itself and selling itself into bankruptcy. We are working on our own demise. A report that Steve Long read from said that we have too much public housing. Too much. We've been saying this for the longest time. We are supposed to be somewhere around 15%, okay? We have a lot more than that. And with Section 8 certificates, we're even higher. And you know what? What I would like to see happen, I don't know if it's legal, I have to check with a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. But maybe we should enact an ordinance, okay? Or better yet, put a ballot question out there, okay, to enact an ordinance that says the city of Fall River shall have at no time any more than 15% of the residential units occupied by public housing or subsidized housing funds. And that's it. They'll stop sending Section 8 to us. They'll stop sending people to live in our housing projects.
I'm just sick and tired paying twice for something that should be done the first time.
That's right.
Should be paid the first time. Here's a perfect example, okay? The Fall School didn't got money for this, okay? But we did got, people went out and support our events and support our carnival, okay, which the city don't want to bring them, carnivals in the city, and I had to go into private land so I can bring the carnival to town. They went out and they support this. So this week, I got a check from the carnival for $4,000. What that means is that people that went and spent money at that park paid twice for the same thing that CPA should be done at the first place. So we paid for CPA, okay, to put money in another place, and then we pay again supporting a community event to get money to go to the right place. So if that's the way we need to go, I don't need CPA. I can put more events, and instead of people paying the tax, I will ask people, instead of you paying your tax, go down to our events, because our money is going to go where we tell you that's going to go.
I agree. You know, it's interesting because I received a phone call 2 days ago from a gentleman who actually went to the city council meeting in regards to trash, and he presented the city with a bill to be paid. Because he is actually maintaining a property that the city took and it's been condemned, and he cleans it up on a daily basis. He cleans up the street and he does all of that, but they're not giving him a break on his taxes, and so he presented the bill. And he said, I want people to know that I am not going to pay my taxes until they pay the bill. And I said, well, you know, before you go there, I said, what you want to do is present a formal demand to the city, send it to Gary Howiak, and say, pay this bill. And when they don't, take them to court. I don't know if you'll be able to collect it, but you know what? You'll at least be making your statement.
Yes.
But you know, it's crazy that this is what it's going to come to.
We do have something that if you take care of a land for so long, that land belongs to you, right?
20 years.
Oh, 20 years.
20 years.
Okay.
Right.
So you still have a long way to go.
Yeah, he's still got a long way to go. But you know, this is what we're coming down to in Fall River. We're coming to a point now where the only way our elected officials, okay, and I didn't call anyone out yet on this show, and I really am hard-pressed not to. I really want to. But if you're going to get into an argument with the voter, you're stupid. Don't get into an argument with the voter, because no matter what you say, you're wrong, you're going to lose, you can't win.
I have said many times in my 18 years working with public, my boss always say the customer is always right.
That's it.
On the city case, we are the customer. We are always right, even if we're wrong.
Oh, wait a minute, Carlos. You think we're the customers? No.
We are the customers.
No, we're not.
We pay the bill.
We're the human ATM machines, okay? We are the human ATM machines.
Oh,
and with that, we're at that point of the show.
Half an hour, that's it?
That's it, 'cause believe it or not. Hey, thanks for watching. Chip will be back on Friday, and you got to watch Friday's show, because you know what? It's going to hit the fan. Have a great day, everybody.